And the first thing we're going to take a look at is the Genesys March points update. Now, shoutouts to Konami for completely ruining my Plus channel upload yesterday, because we reacted to, or we read the blog post together in which they announced the update. And I uploaded that basically right after the stream, pretty much. I got it ready for the Plus channel, and then they dropped the points update exactly at the same time as I uploaded the video. And then the comments were full of like, well, this is bad timing now. But it is what it is. We have the points update now, so we can take a look at it. Of course, they've already announced roughly what they are going to do, but we don't know exactly what the point changes are. So we're gonna see. Cool Tune Clip, Cool Tune Q going from 5 to 6 points, which is very small. Cool Tune Synchro going from 0 to 10, however, is a pretty substantial increase. All three of these cards are pretty much staples at 3 in Cool Tune, and this is not really going to change, which means that this is now going to be a deck with a baseline engine cost of 66, right? 18 for clips, 18 for Qs, and 30 for synchro. So that's going to be pretty hefty. And you definitely are not going to be able to play as many hand traps out of the Ghost Sisters in this deck, which is something that the deck really wanted to play. So that is something that remains to be seen, how much that impacts Cool Tune. Like Cool Tune is one of the decks that suffers more from the engine having points, because you want to play pointed non-engine in Cool Tune. So this is a pretty big change for Cool Tune. Exo Sister changes. Now, they announced these already, and I wasn't sure how I felt about it, because I wasn't sure, like, the deck didn't have the craziest win rate, so I wasn't sure how I felt about them putting more points on Exo Sister. However, what I'm seeing here is not that bad. All right, so Exo Sister Betrayal goes from 0 to 7, but Exo Sister Pax goes from 10 to 5. This means, in total, this is just a point increase of 6 points on Exo Sister, right? Because you're going to save 15 points on Exo Sister Pax, but you have to spend 21 points on Exo Sister Betrayals. So this is six extra points for Exo Sister, right? Which is fine. I think Exo Sister players can live with that. What they announced in the blog post sounded harsher than this, right? Pax was a 1 of. I mean, okay, sure, but now it's gonna be a 3 of. I feel like now it's gonna be a 3 of. But yeah, I think this is fine. I think that this is okay. I think Exo Sister Betrayal arguably is a stronger card than Exo Sister Pax. So I think Exo Sister Betrayal having slightly more points than Pax is justified. And all things considered, this is not the biggest deal, right? 3 Pax, 1 Betrayal is probably best now. Sure, maybe if Exo Sister wants to play like other pointed non-engine, like Dimension Shifter, which I'm guessing is not on here because they didn't talk about it in the blog update. But I think this is somewhat what Genesys, like, what is one of the main things that I like about Genesys is that you have the choice of playing different engine points depending on which cards you prefer more. Like, you could play Exo Sister with max consistency by playing 3 Pax and 3 Betrayal now, or you can go like lower on Betrayals to fit other non-engine, or you can go lower on Pax to fit other non-engine. I like that you can kind of like adjust accordingly in all kinds of directions. I think that is a good thing, rather than just one card being pointed. We're gonna see, I'm already seeing the Regenesis things addressed down here. But like, I don't like when it's just one card that has all the points. I like it when like a bunch of cards have a couple of points, so you can like, you can adjust yourself which cards you value more than others. I think that's good. Zaborg the Mega Monarch goes to 100 points. That absolutely is a necessary change. That card is powerful. Spell card Soul Exchange goes to 3. Steel String Sacrifice goes to 3. Okay, minor Monarch changes. Honestly, this is not that much of a change to Monarch. Probably, and the version without Zaborg the Mega Monarch is probably still very viable. Maybe even with Zaborg. I'm not sure if there's a way to still play Zaborg with 100 points. I don't know if there's any other cards that you need that have some points. Radiant Typhoon Vision going to 10 points is fair. I love that card, one of my favorite cards, but it's definitely deserved a couple of points, and 10 is a pretty decent chunk. Unfortunately, that's probably going to remove the card from the format, because 30 points for a playset of Radiant Typhoon Vision is probably not worth the consistency for most decks. Unless you're playing Radiant Typhoon itself, then it's still probably a good card to have. Archmage Vandalism Assault goes to 3 points. Archmage Varnish Alteration goes to 3 points. Medius the Pure goes to 5. Theorealize goes to 5. This, from my perspective, is fair for Archmage. I think Archmage is a pretty strong deck in Genesys format, and I think having a couple of points on a couple of their cards is completely reasonable. Dracotail Malulu going from 5 to 7, and Rahu Dracotail going from 0 to 10. This is now going to actually point Dracotail to the point where if you want to play Dracotail, you probably can, but you're going to have to significantly remove Engine from your deck. Like, the Dracotail deck in Genesys format is pretty watered down at this point. But I guess you could still technically play it with like 1 Rahu, 1 Ketu or something, but that's going to make recycling your cards even more important. Maybe at this point you're going to have to play like, I don't know, multiple of the traps or something to make sure your spells stay in rotation. I'm not sure. But that is going to be quite something. Yeah. Sylvie of the White Forest goes to 5. Foxy Tune goes to 7. And Rising Scale goes to 3. Okay. I think that's fair too. I do like when cards, like when powerful decks just get a couple of their cards pointed to like the 3 to 10 range. I think that's good. Because it doesn't mean the deck becomes unplayable. It doesn't mean the cards become unplayable. You can still very much play set of Foxy Tune, play set of Rising Scale, but you simply have to cut non-engine or other like expensive engine cards from your deck, but you can still play those cards. I think that is fine. And now the Regenesis changes. These are looking pretty good. Regenesis Spell goes to 10, Archfiend goes to 10, Code goes to 10, Warrior goes to 3, and Sage goes to 7. I think this is perfect because this means you can play pure Regenesis now. Because your budget is not gone after you play 3 copies of Regenesis, the spell, right? That was always, that was a pretty mediocre hit to begin with. I'm not sure I don't really agree with the Rhoda cards being so heavily pointed in Genesys format. I think consistency is not a bad thing. I think consistency is good. I think Genesys should limit the power level of what these decks can do. And then it's no problem if the decks can do it consistently. So if you want to play pure Regenesis, you can play all of these cards at 3 if you want to. You know, 3 Regenesis, 3 Archfiend, 3 Code, 1 Warrior, and 1 Sage puts you at exactly 100 points. So it would still take up your entire points if you want to play Regenesis at full power, basically. But you can remove a couple of them to gain points for non-engine, which is now you're free to do that, right? You can play like less Code, less Archfiend, less Regenesis. I still think Sage should have gotten more points, and these cards probably could have gotten away with less. Like because Sage is the Omni Negate, I think it would have been okay if like the spell goes to 5, Archfiend goes to 5, Code goes to 5, but then Sage goes to like 50. That way you would have given Regenesis players basically 2 options. Either you play full power Regenesis and you cut and you play the Sage for 50 points, or you cut the Sage for non-engine, and that way your deck doesn't have an Omni Negate. But yeah, okay. Hand traps. Ghost Mourner goes from 3 to 5. Ghost Ogre goes from 3 to 4. Ghost Spell goes from 5 to 6. Effect Veiler goes from 7 to 8. Ash goes from 15 to 20. I think the Ash change is okay, even though I think it was already really expensive at 15, kind of. I didn't see a lot of people play Ash Blossom. These 4, I don't agree with. These 4 are, in my opinion, bad changes. We already talked about this in the announcement yesterday, when they said like, oh, Cool Tune is making this weird because it's like kind of like making these cards more popular because they want to play tuners. The problem are not these cards. A lot of other decks are not playing these cards for very good reason, because they are simply, even at 3 points, Ghost Ogre and Ghost Mourner were not really that great. If they wanted to punish Cool Tune, they should have put more points on Cool Tune. I think these 4 cards were pretty fairly pointed. They shouldn't be free, I don't think, but they should not be more expensive than what they were, in my opinion. I don't have the biggest problem with Ash Blossom. I think Droll Lockbird going from 25 to 20 is concerning, because it shows that apparently they think Droll Lockbird needs to be playable in the format, which it absolutely does not have to be. Droll Lockbird should probably be never in the format. I will say it going from 25 to 20 is much better than what I expected, because Or like it could have been worse, rather. I think if Droll goes from 25 to 20, it's probably still not going to be very popular. It is weird to me. The overall thing that's happening here is weird to me, because this hand trap section, it's not like this is ruining the Genesys format or anything like this, right? But the fair hand traps creeping up in points, Droll and Lockbird creeping down in points, and Shifter not even being mentioned is just all the wrong things happening, basically, right? Like we're punishing people for playing the fair and interactive cards. We're trying to incentivize people to play more Droll and Lockbird, apparently, and Dimension Shifter is still 10 points, which is insane, right? So this I'm not a big fan of this. This is not like terrible news, but it still is like nothing here. Basically, nothing here is the correct direction, right? For things to go. And then we have the side deck cards. All right, DD Crow going from 0 to 1, Cosmic going from 0 to 1, Dark Ruler going from 0 to 2, Ultimate Slayer going from 0 to 1. We've talked about this yesterday. This is also weird. Even if it's just 1 or 2 points, people play these cards in every side deck because they're free. This is not going to stop people from putting the same cards into their side decks, but now instead of it being Dark Ruler, they're going to find the next best board breaker, probably Illusion Gate. So what people are going to do is still they're going to find the best possible 0-point non-engine for the side deck, and then they're going to put it in the side deck because people don't want to spend points on the side deck. And so I don't know, DD Crow at one point might still be a fair deal in some formats, but people just want to spend 100 points on their main deck usually. Same thing for Cosmic Cyclone. It's not going to be like, oh, 1 point is a fair price for Cosmic Cyclone, so I'm going to put Cosmic Cyclone in my side deck for 3 points. No, what's going to happen is people are going to play Mystical Space Typhoon, for example, right? In the side deck over Cosmic Cyclone. Because why would you spend 3 points for Cosmic in your side deck? Most of the time, you're not going to. Mistaken Arrest going from 0 to 10. This card is a toxic, lingering floodgate, and should probably be 100 points. But I will say, once again, same logic here. This is mainly a side deck card, and side deck cards don't need to be at 100 points for them to be unplayable. This card is unplayable at 10 points because no one in their right mind is spending 30 points on a side deck card just for going first. All right? No one is doing that. So, this is good. This is good. It makes me wonder why there's no Dimensional Shifter or Dimensional Fissure, because there's like literally, we are so close to getting rid of all the floodgates in Genesys format, but yeah. And then Malong and Garura going from 0 to 4, both each. I think this is basically going to eliminate Ultimate Slayer from the format, which if that was your goal, then goal achieved. Oh, also Aggregator. No one is going to spend 15 points to play Ultimate Slayer in the side deck. Unless the card is really, really broken against some decks in the format. Aren't there alternatives though? Maybe, yeah, maybe, sure, maybe you can play Ultimate Slayer still for 3 points in the side deck and just play other cards in the extra deck. But, yeah, sure. I guess that part is kind of interesting. I think that's, honestly, I think that's what I would have liked to see for Ultimate Slayer, is to stay at 0, but you can choose like, hey, do you want to play the powerful Ultimate Slayer with these targets? Or do you want to play the weaker Ultimate Slayer, but then it's free? That could have been a cool alternative to this, right? Because now it's like, okay, Ultimate Slayer costs you some points no matter what. Even if it's just 1 point per Ultimate Slayer, I still think it's kind of rough to spend points on your side deck. So I think it could have been cool to be like, okay, Ultimate Slayer can be free if you play the not so broken targets, but the powerful targets have some points, right? That I think could have been interesting. But all right. We have some generic staples going down though. All right, we have Book of Eclipse and Book of Moon going from 5 to 3 and 7 to 4. Both probably still, I mean, probably unplayable. Book of Eclipse can maybe see some play for 3 points. It depends on the end boards that people make. Darkhold going from 3 to 1 and Raigeki going from 7 to 4. Both of them are going in the right direction because they're seeing basically 0 play. Once again, this is because they are mainly side deck cards, and the measurement, basically, this is one of the challenges with the Genesys point system, is like you have to point side deck cards differently than main deck cards, because the amount of points that people are willing to spend on a side deck card is significantly lower than main deck cards, right? And Dark Hole, honestly, at 3 points, sometimes when you had like 3 points left over, you would put like 1 Dark Hole in your side deck. That was fine. So at one point, like I could see people playing like this is where 1-point cards go. Like if your deck just randomly has like 99 points, you just put like 1 card in your side deck with 1 point, right? So that's also where like a copy of Cosmic Cyclone or DD Crow could still see play. This is just weird because Illusion Gate is 0 points. And so I don't know if we're going to see anyone choose these options over Illusion Gate. Because Illusion Gate is straight up better than these cards pretty much most of the time. And it's even cheaper. So I don't know if we're going to see these cards while Illusion Gate is free. Karma Cannon going from 3 to 1. Honestly, I think this card does not need points. As a certified paleo enjoyer, please make Karma Cannon free. But genuinely, this card is so much fairer in a slower format without link monsters, where it doesn't even remove stuff off the board. Evenly Matched going from 10 to 7. I haven't really seen this card seen any play. Once again, side deck card most of the time. With the cheaper this card gets, the more likely it is that someone is just going to play like a blind second deck though and just play it in the main deck, which is also possible. Imperm going from 13 to 12. Very minor change, it's fine. Pankratops going from 10 to 5. Once again, side deck card should probably be... This should probably be free card. I'm not gonna lie. This should probably be free. But if this, once again, if this is free, then everyone plays it. If it's 5, no one plays it. So what's the right way to go about it, I guess? Kaiju Slumber going from 33 to 10. The fact that this card has points is crazy. Molcharmi Meowls going from 3 to 2. That's fine. Purulia going from 10 to 9. That's fine. Heavy Storm going from 10 to 6. That's fine. Harpy's Feather Duster going from 15 to 9. That's fine. All of these cards are probably still too expensive. Lightning Storm going from 20 to 12. Still way too expensive. Change of Heart from 7 to 6. Too expensive. Snatch Steal 5 to 4. Still too expensive. And Monster Reborn 5 to 4. Also too expensive. Diagram. Okay, ooh, we're hitting some of the consistency cards. Okay. Diagram going from 33 to 15. Fine. Union Hanger going to 15. Fine. Hekahan's Gygas and Xeno going to 0. Yep, that's correct. Edelmelior Stratos going to 0. Olkinix going to 18. Kirin going to 7. This is dangerous because Fire King is a very strong deck, I think. This is one of those decks that I think is a little underrated in Genesis format. You know, whenever I play against it, it feels really strong. So them get, I mean, it's you can't really argue that it's not the most popular. So, and these changes are not that large. You know, it's just small adjustments. That's fine. Gigantic going to 15. Yugioh going to 20. Barrier going. Okay, this is the kind of decks that like no one is playing, and so they're reducing the points on them, which I think is good. They should keep doing this. Rhoda going from 35 to 33 is crazy. Rhoda going... These cards need to be cheaper. Like I said earlier, consistency is never the problem. Consistency is never the problem in Yu-Gi-Oh! If someone does something broken, the question is not how consistently can they do it. The question is why can they do it in the first place. So these cards going down by 2 points is laughable. That's crazy. But whatever. They are continue to see... They're going to continue to basically see no play, pretty much. Miscellaneousaurus going to 67. All right, do your thing. Blaster, Redox, Tempest, Tidal. All right. This is big. This is big. We can play all 12 Dragon Rulers for 60 points now. That's big for me. This is big for me personally and for probably no one else. Because I haven't really seen people mess around with Dragon Rulers that much. I mean, some people probably are enjoying the deck as well. It's my favorite deck in Genesis format. So I'm really happy to see this. This is going to give me some more wiggle room with my non-engine. I don't expect it to really change the position of the deck in the format. The deck is, in my opinion, it's a fine deck, but it's not like top tier. And I don't think it's going to change with a couple of extra points added. Do you even want to play 12 Dragon Rules? I think you would. I think you would play all 12 if it was cheaper. For 60 points, I think you do play all 12. Yeah, I would start playing all 12. So previously I've only played what was it, 10? I played 10 and that was 70 points. So now I can play all 12 for 60. So I get 10 extra points to spend and I get to play all 12, which is nice. I'm probably going to revisit this deck with the new points for my Genesis locals this month, which are always the last Wednesday of every month is Genesis locals for us. And then I'll probably play Dragon Rulers with the new points, which should be fun. Melody going from 33 to 25. Okay. Ooh, okay, we've got the maze stuff and we've got the draw stuff. Dark Magician of Destruction, the 15, gaze to 1, so it can't summon Dragoon. Good stuff. Uzuhime going to 18. Mikanko, Noble Twins going to 18, whatever. Sandwich Day going from 0 to 3. Trade into 5. Observatory to 5. X-Shell to 5. Engage to 7. Into the Void to 7. Tune Table to 7. Upstart to 7. Raiders Knight to 80. Utopia double to 80. Mechanics to 100 and Dark Eradicator Warlock to 100. Okay, this should for now eliminate all of the generic draw your entire deck FTK type of stuff, which is very good. Each of these cards individually still remains playable, which I think is awesome. Like if your deck has great synergy with it, you can still play 3 trade-in. 15 points is not the end of the world. You can still play the Dark Lord stuff for 15 points. You can still even play a Sky Striker engine if you really want to. All of the individual pieces remain playable, but the concept as a whole does not work anymore because you have to put too many of these cards into the deck to consistently draw your entire deck turn 1. This is, in general, this is very positive, I think, because this is just what they should always do in Genesis, is like if a deck like this pops up, even if it doesn't win a big tournament, if it's ruining the experience for some people playing the format, whether it's online or in person, they should immediately make sure that that deck doesn't work anymore in terms of FTKs and stuff like that, right? There are certain things that just don't have a place in Genesis format, especially when you can't play as many hand traps because they all got points, and FTKs are one of those things. FTKs just should not exist in this format, period, and they should never be viable, right? And so them immediately putting a bunch of points on all these cards is fantastic. Okay, overall, this is a lot better than I expected, because I'm gonna be honest with you, the announcement yesterday, it read pretty weird in certain spots. But the thing is, like, even if I disagree with some of the direction here that's happening, I think it's okay because it's only very, very small changes. Like, for example, I don't necessarily agree that they're pointing these hand traps instead of putting more points on Cool Tune, but they're also only giving them 1 or 2 points each, which is not the end of the world. Like, you can still play these cards. So it's okay. It's not the biggest deal. I also disagree with Droll and Lockbird reducing in points, but at least it still is 20, which is still plenty for Droll. I disagree with DD Crow, Cosmic Cyclone, Ultimate Slayer gaining points, but once again, it's just 1 or 2 points each, so sometimes you can still consider them for your side deck if they are really good into the format. And if not, I guess, you know, we're gonna have to find replacements, but it's not the end of the world. I do think the changes for the meta decks are pretty solid. This entire first segment, I think, is all pretty good changes. You know, Cool Tune getting points, Exo Sister slight adjustments, Monarchs getting points, Radiant Typhoon, Archmage, Draco Tail, White Forest, Punk. All of these decks deserved to get points. And in the case of Exo Sister, I think it's more like a side grade than a straight up like big hit. I think that's fine. So these changes are positive, I think. The Regenesis rebalancing is also very positive. All of these cards, literally all of these cards, deserve to go down in points. So I'm a big fan of this segment here as well. I'm really excited about the Dragon Rulers being cheaper. This is awesome. And the FTK stuff is also pretty good. So all things considered, this is looking pretty good. And I don't know why they made it sound like it was going to be a weird update yesterday, but I was expecting it to be worse than this. It's actually quite solid, I think. But yes, okay. Elephant in the room, we should never, and once again, listen to me, we should never stop complaining about Dimension Shifter, Dimensional Fissure, and stuff like Gravity Collapse and Soundproof in Genesis format. They need to understand that these cards are not fun and healthy for the format. No one should go first, activate Dimensional Fissure. No one should win the game off of a single Dimension Shifter. No one should just activate a counter trap that says your opponent cannot summon monsters for the rest of the turn. As soon as these cards see play, it doesn't matter if they are everywhere or even if they're more niche. Like, if these cards start seeing play in your format, you need to point them higher. This goes completely against the spirit of Genesis format if people are trying to lock the other player out of the game. This is something, you know, we're putting heavy points on FTKs because they're trying to win the game without interacting with the opponent, and then we're leaving the other cards that are doing the same thing at 0 points or very minimum, right? So that's that, right? So yes, there are things missing on here. Yes, there are some things that I think are going slightly in the wrong direction, but for the most part, still pretty good. I'm still very much looking forward to playing more Genesis format, and honestly, my favorite change of all of this announcement season basically is still the fact, and this is the biggest deal for me personally, is that we are getting the chance to play Genesis on the Friday at YCS's, which is so big in my opinion. I can't stress enough how big of a deal that is and how much more interested it makes me personally in Genesis format if I know, like, I can play on the Friday, I can play Genesis, on Saturday I can play Advanced, and on Sunday I can choose whichever day two I qualified for. If I qualified for both, I'll pick the one I care more about or whatever. But the ability to play Genesis on Friday is so important for the future of this format. And the points update is fine. You know, it's fine.